The Sciforror Film Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Sciforror Film Podcast. I am.
Sorry, I thought you were trying to do it all telepathically.
No, I don't do that sort of thing anymore.
Just sitting there doing the whole like Charles Xavier thing. I'm like, is it deliberate? He's not going to say anything, just going to do it all telepathically today.
No, I don't do that sort of thing anymore. Not now. So I've got not since the last time. I'll try once more. Here you go. It's a joke for all the telepaths out there. Here you go. Right. All right. Little bit saucy, but basically politically correct. Thank you, Alexis, for that joke. Anyway, right. How are you? I'm Andy Walker, as I was going to say, and I have with me my son Scott. Hello, Scott. How are you?
Hello, I'm okay. My face hurts now from laughing, but yeah, I'm okay.
Your face hurts. Your face hurts. It's killing me.
My eyes look really shiny now.
Oh, shiny eyes. Anyway, yes. So here we are again. Happy as can be. No short films this week. Instead, we are doing two films. We are doing a film, and it's only real official sequel because there are other films that were given the name of sequels to these films, but they aren't actually anything to do with the ones that these two. So,
to be honest, the second one's only got something to do with it because it mentions it for 4 seconds at the beginning.
Well, no, it's. We'll go through it in a minute. I'll explain it in a minute. Right. So, yes, this week we are doing reviews of the film Demons from 1985 and Demons 2 from 1986, I think. Yeah. Is it? Yeah. So there you go. So here we go. This is what I was saying the other week. Having said I'm not a huge fan of
Italian horror,
Italian horror films, I picked these two films because I love them.
This the thing is, I was sitting there saying to Amy about it. She was like, "What are you watching?" Because it was his subtitle. And I went, "Oh, well, it's some Italian horror film." She went, "It's just because your dad said he's never watched any, and I'm not a big fan of it." I was like, "No, he genuinely likes these ones."
Yeah, it's just it's just one of those things. Right, so yes, Demons. This was directed by Lamberto Bava, who's one of the big names in Italian horror. He did some short films and things in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2010s and 2020s. Now, he also wrote the screenplay for this. Or part.
It was a screenplay?
Wrote the screenplay for this. But he was also involved in either the writing of and or directing of the following: Shock in 1977, but he was uncredited on that. Macabre in 1980. A Blade in the Dark, 1983. You'll Die at Midnight, 1986. Demons 2, 1986. Delirium, 1987. The Ogre, 1988. Body Puzzle, 1992. The Torturer, 2005. And Ghost Son in 2007. Now, the other writers, we have Dardano Sacchetti.
I'm so glad you're pronouncing this because I read this out to Amy earlier, and the way she said that, the way that I pronounced it sounded like it should have been in Star Wars.
Dardano Sacchetti, I think it is. Now, this is the guy who wrote the original story and was involved in the writing of the screenplay. He also wrote Cat of Nine Tails in 1971, A Bay of Blood in 1971, Murder to the Tune of the Seven Black Notes in 1977, Shock 1977, Zombie 1979, uncredited, Inferno 1980, uncredited, Cannibals in the Street 1980, City of the Living Dead 1980, The Beyond 1981, The House by the Cemetery 1981, The New York Ripper 1982, Manhattan Baby 1982, The Scorpion with Two Tails in 1982, Amityville 2 The Possession 1982, uncredited, 1990 The Bronx Warriors in 1982, A Blade in the Dark 1982, Exterminators of the Year 3000 in 1983, Cut and Run 1984, You'll Die at Midnight 1986, Demons 2 1986, Body Count 1986, Evil Senses 1986, Spectre 1987, Rat Man 1988, The Ogre 1988, The Church 1989, Killer Crocodile 1989, Sci-Warrior 1989, Killer Crocodile 2 1990, The Torturer 2005, and Tupla Demon of Desire in 2012. Now, one of the other writers, yeah, there are another couple of writers. What am I looking for? What am I doing here? Well, I think I've got lost. I turned over 2 pages at once. Well, that's right, yeah. One of the other writers was the man, and he was also the producer of this film.
You did away with there. He was a man.
Was the man that is, to me, for the sort of 80s, that was the man I know as being the main name in Italian horror movies, which was Dario Argento.
Yeah.
The other films he was involved in the writing of, The Cat of Nine Tails 1971, Four Flies on Grey Velvet in 1971, Deep Red 1975, Suspiria 1977, Inferno 1980, Tenebrae 1982, Phenomena 1985, Demons 2 1986, Opera 1987, The Church 1989, Two Evil Eyes 1990, The Sect 1991, Trauma 1993, The Stendhal Syndrome in 1996, The Wax Mask 1997, Phantom of the Opera 1998, Sleepless 2001, The Card Player 2003, Mother of Tears 2007, Dracula 3D 2012, Suspiria in 2018, and Dark Glasses in 2022. Now I'm trying to work out. I think I've gone on to things and things here. Yes, I have. Okay, right. So we're on to cast now. I think I got a bit lost there because I normally write down what, and I didn't write it down properly in this one. So here we are. We have Urbano Barberini, who was in Opera 1987, The Black Cat 1989, The 18th Angel in 1997, and Leto Numero 6 in 2019. We have Natasha Hovey, who was in nothing else of any interest to us. Carl Zinni, who was in Delirium in 1987 and Opera 1987, but he was uncredited in that. Then we have Fiore Argento, one of Dario Argento's offspring, who was in Phenomena 1985, Trauma in 1993, and The Card Player in 2003. Paola Cozo, who was in Demonia in 1990. Fabiola Toledo, who was in A Blade in the Dark in 1983. And we have Nicoletta Elmi, who was in Bay of Blood in 1971, Barren Blood in 1972, Flesh for Frankenstein in 1973, Footprints on the Moon in 1975, Deep Red in 1975, and Together Forever in 1975. And we have Stelio Candelli, who was in Planet of the Vampires in 1965, Nude for Satan in 1974, Yeti giant of the 20th century in 1977. We have Nicole Tessia, who was in nothing of any interest to us at all. Other than this, then we have Garetta, who was in 2020 Texas Gladiators in 1983, Warrior of the Lost World in 1984, Rats Night of Terror in 1984, Terminator 2 in 1989, The Becoming 2012, Bloody Christmas in 2012, Skid Row 2013, and Domination of the Becoming in 2018. And we have Bobby Rhodes, who was in Dorian Gray in 1970, Island of the Fishmen in 1979, but he was uncredited in that. The Great Alligator in 1979, Endgame 1983, Demons 2 1986, and Le Accelerator in 2017, which is a fantastic film, I've got to say, because I've seen that. So the synopsis for this film.
There was a synopsis?
The synopsis for the film says, a group of random people are invited to a screening of a mysterious movie, only to find themselves trapped in the theatre with ravenous demons. Now, I've seen this film before, but it was a long time ago, and I still find it just as good now as I did then. It's one of these films that's pretty much, it does what it says on the tin. That synopsis kind of sums up the entire film.
Yeah, I've got to admit, there are bits in it, but yeah, it does exactly. It says exactly what's going to happen, I suppose.
I mean, it's good. I like it because it's like, I like the whole film within a film thing. I like that being done in films, and
Yeah,
it's the fact that the what's going on in this film kind of mirrors some of the stuff that's going on in the film they're watching.
yeah.
Which I really like. Yes, okay. Let me just address one thing straight off, which is the fact that it is absolutely chock-a-block full of 80s movie cliche, 80s horror movie cliche characters.
Yep. Massively. Not even the thing is the things that I find with Italian horror is the fact that they try and make themselves sort of different to a lot of other places.
Mm,
Like they don't follow down the same route of like the American ones or even the English ones they were
no,
doing.
okay.
But the coloured guy that was in it
Yeah,
is stereotypical what every film in the 80s had as a black man.
yeah. He does. He comes across as being like, he is your archetypal street pimp,
Yeah,
sort of like, dude.
yeah,
And
your street thug pimp that shouldn't be messed with, but everyone's gonna listen to. And
yeah,
it's just like, really?
yeah. No, I mean, I will admit that most of the characters in it are very cliched and very kind of like typical of an 80s film. Um, there are a few things about the film that kind of never really made sense to me, which is like sort of blind man. A blind man goes to see a horror film with a woman who he continually asks to explain what's going on the screen until she starts having a snog with some other bloke who you don't know if they actually know each other or if they're just randomly
Just
there.
randomly turns up. Yeah,
And all the way through it's kind of creepy because the blind man's trying to find out how scared she is of what she's watching, which is kind of
yeah,
weird. But the whole thing is just a little bit weird. Just having a blind man in there was just going like, yeah,
yeah. I think I don't know. There's a lot of typical, stereotypical 80s stuff. I know the fact that obviously it was mid 80s when this come out. I get the fact that it was the height of when everything was going on, but this is
I think the thing about it is that we've seen all of these people in lots of other films before and since, whereas at that time
they
we
had them.
hadn't, because
Yeah,
they were just coming out, all of these sort of characters.
yeah,
But I mean, having said all that, I think that there are some excellent lighting and makeup effects in this film.
yeah. Some of the transformations
Yeah,
I would say were. very, very good. They're like the nails growing through and the teeth growing out. I thought were amazing and
Yeah,
still do stand the test of time for that. I think were very good.
absolutely. But
Don't be wrong, there were little bits where I looked at and went, "Oh my god, really?"
yeah,
But I think that's just mainly again because of the fact that they haven't quite stood the test of time with the way that things have progressed, and I think that's an issue.
yeah. But I mean, I mean, it is these are a kind of. I think 80s films are a kind of snapshot of where we were at the time in the way of effects and things like that. Um, what I did quite like about it is the fact that although there are lots of cliched characters and it's very stereotypical in lots and lots of ways, it doesn't have the same sort of thing, especially American horror movies at this sort of time had, which is the desire and the need to have naked women all over the place.
No, don't get me wrong. There was like a little try and do it. There was a little bit of like action sort of
Yeah,
tone in it, but not over the top like we have seen with a lot of other American films, and even to a certain extent some English ones.
yeah. Oh
There
no,
were not compared to American ones. There was basically this was I would say this is more sort of like PG than it was sort of American
well,
like. Oh
in
no,
the
you know what I mean. Like compared
in
to
the
like
way
the
of
nudity,
nudity, yeah.
yeah, the nudity way of it. The rest of it, I would say, is definitely an 18. But the sort of nudity part of it,
Well, yeah, I mean, I really thought it was really good, and the bits where the woman comes crashing through the screen
yeah, I
and that
just
kind of thing, I really thought that was well done. What I liked about this as well is it doesn't rely on jump scares as such.
no.
It kind of relies more on atmosphere and you just being completely like, what the hell's going on?
Oh yeah, but there's certain moments that for me personally, were a lot of what the hell, why is that happening? That
Yeah,
weren't anything to do with the horror thing. Like the whole sequence of the four people in the car that are obviously taking a lot of narcotics out of a coke can.
yeah,
Um, and then the whole sort of thing about the chase scene and them trying to scrape it all back up was a bit like what? What?
yeah. No, I
What's that
know.
got to do with anything? And as well, the bit that done me was near the end and the helicopter crashing through the roof.
Yeah,
Obviously, I get the fact that what happened like afterwards and the whole like you find out why that happens. But it's the fact that I sat there and was like, where the hell did the helicopter come from?
well, yeah, this is the only thing I've ever had an issue with in this film. You get down to the last two human characters who are
Yeah.
left alive, and they're trapped in the theatre with demons coming on all sides, and there's no possible way of them ever getting out of there. And that particular moment just happens to be when a helicopter crashes through the roof so that they can then climb on and get out.
Yeah, what I liked about this as well is the fact that it wasn't again another thing that wasn't like a typical American horror film, which was something crashed and it didn't explode.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true. Yeah.
it crashed. This is what I'm saying. It just shows the difference between like American helicopters and the rest of the world. It's the fact that American helicopters, a fly can hit them and they explode in films. And in this one, it crashed through three stories of a building. The blades managed to stay intact. It still worked, and it didn't explode.
It really was kind of like, really?
Yeah,
That's the way they get out?
it was just. I've got to admit, the sort of twist at the end. Well, not a twist, but like you sit there and go, "Oh my god!" The hero and the hero, like the hero and his girlfriend have got out. The girl that he's after got out, got away
Yeah.
safely, and then suddenly she turns, and I was like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting that."
Yeah, yeah.
Admittedly, I did think it was quite brutal the way they just shot her out of the car, but
Well, got to get rid of them somehow. But yeah, I still think it's a great film. It's a great watch. It's a fun film to watch. I would I would rate this film as as enjoyability and watching, to watch. I would rate this film alongside Die Hard.
okay.
I would happily sit and watch this film any day of the week.
If it was on, I wouldn't mind watching it. I wouldn't go.
No,
Oh, do we have to?
well, that's
But
that's what I'm like with Die Hard. If Die Hard's on and there's nothing else on, I'll watch it. And the same with this. If this was on and there was nothing else on, I'd definitely watch it.
yeah, so it's definitely yeah. If it was on and there was nothing else on, then I'd be like, yeah, all right. But I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it.
It's just I think it's a great film, great fun to watch, which is rather strange. I've been told lately that I'm a little bit odd because of the fact that I keep saying about how much fun it is watching horror films, especially ones where people are being ripped apart and there's lots of blood and guts everywhere. But I
Yeah,
just think
well,
it is fun.
to be honest, I've been called that for years because of the fact that I do a lot of the same thing as I sit there. Like I actually got asked to leave a cinema once because of the fact that there was a very gruesome horror film that was being shown, and I was sitting there with a few of my friends, and a lot of people were like, "Oh my god, gross that!" And I'm sitting there laughing my absolute head off. And I got asked if I could either please quieten down or leave, and I quietened down, and then something happened which involved a few people being decapitated and limbs being taken off in various manners. And I sat there and I laughed. And the steward then come and went, "Oh, we don't have to ask you to leave, please." And I actually find that as one of my proudest moments. The fact that I got thrown out of a horror film for the fact that I laughed too much.
Well, there you go.
But
So we'll go on now to the second film, which is Demons 2, from 1986. Again, directed by Lamberto Bava. Writers Lamberto Bava, Dario Argento, and people who did wrote the first one, plus Franco Ferrini. Now, Franco Ferrini also was involved in the writing of Phenomena in 1985, Opera in 1987, The Church in 1989, Two Evil Eyes in 1990, Trauma in 1993, The Stendhal Syndrome, whatever that was, Sleepless in 2001, The Card Player 2003, and Dark Glasses in 2022. The cast. Now, first of all, we have David Knight, who was in nothing that we're interested in other than this. Then we have Nancy Brilli, who was in Body Count in 1986.
yes,
Then we have Coralina Cataldi Tassoni, who was in Opera in 1987, The Room Next Door in 1994, Phantom of the Opera in 1998, Ghost Son in 2007, and Mother of Tears in 2007. Where are we? Then we have Asia Argento, another one of Dario Argento's offspring, who was also in The Church in 1989, Trauma 1993, The Stendhal Syndrome 1996, Phantom of the Opera 1998, Love Bites in 2001, Land of the Dead in 2005, Mother of Tears 2007, Dracula 3D 2020, Alien Crystal Palace in 2018, Dark Glasses in 2022. I'm sorry, Alien Crystal Palace just sounds like a strange football team.
it sounds like someone bursting Crystal Palace actually.
Alien versus Crystal Palace. That'll be a film.
Sounds like aliens versus cowboys, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Right.
Aliens versus footballers.
So the synopsis for this film is: a group of tenants and visitors are trapped in a 10-story high-rise apartment building infested with demons who proceed to hunt the dwindling humans down. Now, you were saying about there not being a connection. Now, I've seen this film before again, but not for a long time, and I like it as well. Basically, it's more of the same, but with a different setting.
Yeah.
But it starts with a TV show, which I don't know if this is true, but I think originally the idea was that the TV thing that they're watching is a film that's made about 4 people breaking into the site of the original outbreak, which has been walled up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a wall has been put around the original city where the original outbreak was, and they break in to go and have a look at the place and to get keepsakes like the claws
The
and things of
claw,
the
yeah.
demon. Yeah, so that's the basic synopsis for that, or the basic idea for the film. and like that. So again, there's some great makeup effects and all that kind of thing. Again, the film within a film thing I really like, because I've always liked that. And it's taken a bit further than this one. It's got some places which were kind of used again in things like Poltergeist and things like that, which is like the creatures coming out of the TV
Yeah,
set and that sort of thing, which I think is done really well. The idea the demon coming out the TV set is a really good effect.
yeah,
And what I like as well is the way that it's done with the film within a film. It's taken a step further, because it's almost like, because the action in the film in Demons 2 is mirroring the actions in the film on the TV. They cut from one to the other, and it's almost like they're happening at the same time.
yeah,
So it kind of flows really kind of interestingly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will ask something quickly.
Well,
Apart from obviously the guy that was in this that was blatantly in the first one.
yeah.
Did you spot the other guy who was blatantly in the first one?
Which one?
Well, you had the colour guy who was doing all the gym workout was also the same as the guy that was in the pimp in the first one.
Yeah.
The security guard
Yeah.
was the guy who was the leader of the four that was coking out their head.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there
And
was.
I said the thing is, I kept saying, they go, but he died in the first one.
Yeah,
And
but maybe they just.
I knew the fact that obviously they're playing different characters and different people. But I'm sitting there like, but he died in the first one.
They just look the same. They don't have to be the same person. But his things, like, there were bits in it that didn't make sense in this. There were. It's like the acid blood thing was something
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that.
that didn't happen in the first one, but that was something new. But there was so much of it.
Yeah,
And the thing that got me, I couldn't work out. I couldn't work out the directions, because the acid blood went through the floor and then continued going down through all of these other floors, right?
yeah,
That means their flat must have been right at the top,
yeah,
okay? And the people coming out, they all ran down
yeah.
stairs, okay? The people in the lift went down and got stuck. Why did they go back up? Didn't quite get that. But
Oh, he went back up because his wife was there.
yeah, it just seemed like all of these demons and all the people were running down the stairs, and then they ended back up on the floor where the party was, which I didn't quite get. What
Yeah, I mean, there was a few times where it seemed like they started on certain floors and run up. I'm like, you can't go any further.
But the other thing is the fact that the blood seemed to appear in different flats, which couldn't have been underneath each other because of the way where they were
Yeah.
when they came out of them. It just didn't make sense.
No, there was a few bits that didn't make sense. Like I would like to add as well that both of these films, everyone's very quick to jump and scream.
Yeah.
Like don't be wrong, there's not known what's going on. The lights have gone off in like the bit in the gym. The lights have gone off and everyone's sort of a bit like, oh okay, the lights have gone off, we're gonna have to stop. And then all of a sudden two of them get attacked. And these quite muscly people then fight them off with very over dramatically thrown weights at them.
Was it? Yeah. Yeah.
But then they run back and they go, everyone run, and everyone automatically starts screaming. No one knows what's going on though. The people in the corridor have just been told to run.
I know, but it was quite funny the way that when they were
Oh,
the muscle the gym people were fighting them. It was just kind of like, what are you doing?
what I want to know as well, yeah, is the fact that when they run, they
Yeah,
go to the front, which I'm guessing is the front door, and they try then breaking it open. Why on earth
yeah.
were so many of them carrying weights? And which were thrown at the door as well.
But the other thing was they hit the door with everything they've got. They throw everything they've got at the door. The glass isn't breaking. Why did he then start punching it? What did he think he was going to do?
What I thought was quite funny is the fact he uses quite a large dumbbell by the looks of it.
Yeah,
A massive metal bar which is used for the gym for
yeah,
holding the weights up. So they're quite solid. Then gives up with that and decides to throw a plant at it.
yeah.
It's just
And
like,
then
oh
just
yeah, because if when he does, instead of using something hard, let's throw soil.
and then he starts punching it, which is what. And the thing they go down to the basement to the car park. They can't get out of the car park,
So they set a fire.
but they set fire to everything up against the door, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And where did the fire come from? Nobody there had a
What's the figures as well? They moved the cars in front of the door,
yeah,
which I think is a very good idea because of the fact that it blocked food from coming out.
yeah.
Why on earth did they need to insist on ripping the seats out?
What I didn't understand was they moved the cars in front of the doors, but they left about a 3 foot gap between the door and the car.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny. It's the second one they move and they run it up to the other entrance, and
Yeah,
instead they completely just doesn't park close enough to it, which you
yeah.
should have done anyway. But then everyone just picked it up and moved it. Like, well, if it's that easy to move, what is that going to do as a blockade?
And then there's the thing that gets me is it's like there's a mum and a kid, and the mum gets attacked, turned into a demon. The kid shouts out "mummy," and the mum recognizes the voice and leads the demons away.
I don't know.
And that's kind of weird. It's kind of like, hang on a minute, what's that
Yeah.
little bit? That little bit was never really kind of explored or explained. Um,
Well, I like the transformation of the dog as well. That was quite cool.
that was brilliant.
I've
I
got to admit,
love that was one
that
of
was
the
one of the best dog trans or the best sort of transitions for canines that I've seen. I've
it's
seen.
one of,
I'm not just talking about werewolf films or anything like that. To turn them into something like that, and I mean, like, not as good as Resident Evil with their demon things, but that was one of the top ones I've seen.
it's brilliant. I love it. Although Italian horror movies do have a thing about people being attacked by their own dogs. It's
Yeah,
normally blind people being attacked by their own guide dogs, but
I will. I do want to know as well whether or not the people that wrote this and had any influence from Gremlins for a certain bit. Because
yes,
that blatantly looked like one of the character, one of the puppets that they didn't use in Gremlins.
I was gonna say about that. I mean, the kid turns turns into a demon. Now, the thing is, here's an interesting thing for you: the acid blood
Yeah,
drops from the ceiling onto the boy, and is no longer acid because it doesn't burn him.
yeah. Even though there is a guy who actually says that there was acid that fell through and he punched it and it burned his fingers, but he didn't seem that bothered by it.
Yeah, but then the boy turns into a demon, and for no explained reason, it doesn't happen to anybody else. He falls on the floor. He splits open. And this alien thing comes out a bit, or this demon comes out a bit like the chest bursting scene in Alien.
Yeah, and looks remarkably like Stripes from Gremlins.
Yeah, it looks like a gremlin, and yeah, it's a bit bizarre why that whole thing happened, and then
I did like the
there
sort
was
of
suddenly there was power in the room, which there
yeah,
hadn't been up till then, and then she squashed it in the bed that folds up in the wall.
yeah. I did like as well the fact that there was still the typical kid sort of bit where she threw a towel at it and it screamed.
Yeah,
Like he's trying to fight her and go after her blood, but her towels didn't stop it. And I was like,
yes,
oh,
and then
just
so then they break out of the two final two break out of the building into what appears to be a TV studio for some reason.
TV studio, which is next door to a flat. But when you look outside, there's nothing near the tower block.
But also, they did this and they looked confused because if they didn't know it was there.
Yeah, no.
And the other thing I really wanted to know about this, right? They're having a party in the apartment building. This guy talks on the phone to a guy called Jacob,
Yep,
who is the ex-partner of the woman who's throwing the birthday party. His birthday is.
yep,
Okay. And he says, yeah, okay, see you in a while. And says to her, Jacob's on his way.
yeah. She goes a biscuit, so.
She goes, how far away was Jacob? Because it seems to take him the entire film to get to the bloody block of flats.
Yeah, I've got to admit, like we're saying about the fact that there was only two survivors at the end, but the fact, obviously, the guy waiting outside for most of the film,
Yeah,
which I feel really sorry for him. A part of me doesn't don't because of the fact that he's sitting there like, oh, they tell him to go and stop him, and he's like, he said he'll be there in a while, not he's downstairs.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just like all this is going on with like the whole gym and everything like that, and he's just standing there completely oblivious to it.
The other thing is they keep switching to the car with Jacob and these other kids in, and they're doing an immense amount of speed down the road,
Yeah,
which one of the women is saying, "Please don't drive so fast, we're all going to die." And yet they don't get there until right at the end of the film.
yeah, it does seem like they're quite far away,
Yeah, they
and
must
it's
have
just
been the other side of the country.
it's just no, it's a very bizarre thing. Like there's certain bits of this film where I don't know. It's just maybe like the end bit with the demon who's blind as well, which I don't understand how that happens.
Yeah, I don't know why she
She
suddenly
had
became
she had her
blind.
eyesight. She was then stabbed in the stomach and lost her eyesight. Now I know that I'm not I'm not a doctor and I'm not obviously up to it and all that, but I'm pretty sure your eyes and your stomach are not connected that way.
Well, I don't know. You see, my mum always used to tell me my eyes were too big for my belly, so
Oh,
maybe that's something to do with that.
but I've never had gut ache and lost my eyesight.
Depends what you're drinking, I suppose. But
But yeah, so that happened, and then so obviously she does it a lot by hearing and the sound, and then doesn't go after the woman who screams or the baby that's crying.
yeah, yeah. So the woman has a baby. It's an awfully clean baby and relatively
Awfully big as
large.
well, bearing in mind how small her bump was.
Yeah. And there's no afterbirth or blood around anywhere. And she's quite happy to stand up and run out with the baby in her arms into the street outside without any worry at all. Um,
And the
and
fact that she was in labour and still managed to uh, like sort of propel down the side of a building.
yeah. And so yeah, there was a few bits that didn't make any sense, and also like they walk out into the sunrise, and the film ends, and you kind of think, yeah, but what about all the other demons? They didn't all. I mean, he blows up part of the stairwell, but that
Yeah,
wasn't all the demons.
which only takes out a few of them. Like they literally massacre everyone in that building, and it only takes out about five.
So what about all the rest of the demons? Where, I mean, and
Yeah,
I don't know. It
I did
I
like the
like it.
whole the way that it the sort of the transition they did of because she died in front of the camera.
Yeah,
That obviously then she was trying to what happened to her was then go through and try and start again. And I
yeah,
like that sort of the continuation and the way they tried
yeah.
to stop it.
That was good. But yeah, it was a bit. There are bits of this that just don't make sense and don't. But again, I like it because it's just good fun. It's a good.
It's a very bizarre film, and I can understand why. Like I'm the same as you. I'm not a massive fan of Italian horror. Like I give me a film where someone gets their head sliced off and everything like that, and I'll quite happily watch it.
Oh,
But
yeah,
weird films like this, I'm not 100% a big fan of.
I like these two. I like Suspiria and I like The Beyond. And there's
But
possibly one or two others, but
I can understand why looking at this, why Italian horror films have got such a big following.
oh yeah.
Why they've got not just obviously an Italian following, but they've got a worldwide following and are cast as some of the best horror films.
I
I
mean,
can understand that,
I
but
think they're fantastic ideas and well made, and some of the effects, as I say, when you consider the fact that at the time they were made, the effects are, there was no
yeah,
CGI stuff and all that sort of thing. It was all like physical effects. It wasn't sort of,
yeah, I do like as well some of in both films the way they did certain bits of the transformations. Obviously, it wasn't straight away, so like there were certain parts where they started turning and they turned their head away from like so the back of their head was facing the camera and then turn back and they've got a little bit further along the thing and then
yeah,
turn away and turn back and I'm like, why not just make them fully transform? But yeah,
yeah,
it's I do I said again though the transformation sequences that they did in this with the nails growing and the teeth that did that happened like that and even the sort of the makeup for the way that the veins went across their faces and stuff like that. I
Yeah,
thought were very well done and very good still.
yeah. They are. I mean, I think they're great films to watch. They're kind of, they are a bit of fun. They're kind of they're interesting pieces of uh, horror history, if you like, but they're
Yeah,
also good fun to watch because you don't have to think a lot about these films. They just kind of
no,
happen in front of you, and you can just quite happily sit and watch them.
yeah, it's again, this is another film where if it was on, I'd watch it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it. But
Yeah,
I know that if I did watch it, it would be sort of slightly entertaining.
yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily like this as much as I like the first one, but I do like the pair of them together. As I say, there were lots of other films which were really oddly were given titles of their own and then became Demons 3 and Demons 4 and Demons 5
Yeah,
because the fact that they just wanted to cash in on the
the whole premise.
yeah. So it. But I really I enjoyed watching them again because it's been a long time since I've seen them. But they were just as mad and just as good as I remember them being. And it gave me a good evening's watch, just sitting watching the two of them straight after the other.
Yeah, so I watched mine actually the day we done it doing this, and it's definitely a way I've spent my afternoon, sort of sitting there watching it, and it's just sort of I've got to admit it's a weird way to spend 3 hours,
Yeah,
but it's definitely a better way than what I was planning on doing. So
it's not an unenjoyable way to spend
no,
an
don't be wrong.
afternoon.
Like some of the death scenes in both films, I thought were very entertaining. Some of they
Yeah,
were very unique and very odd, especially the second one with the gym equipment. But it just shows the fact that it wasn't all blood and guts, and it was just genuinely for making more of themselves.
yeah.
But
And
and I thought it was good.
the other thing I like about it is that I finally found two 1980s films that you didn't mind watching.
Yeah, there are a few bits of it. Like I have realised, I'm just thinking about it now. Actually, there is part of the thing in the second film. You said about the other demons that what happened to them. It says in the synopsis and everything like that that there's only the two and the baby that get out.
Yeah.
What about the girl that was locked in the car that when she called for her dad, all the demons ran to, and nothing is said about what happens to her?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good point.
And it's just like, is she still there? Did she get out? Did they get into the car? And it's just like,
Yeah, I don't know. Very strange. It is very strange. True. But there you go. So that's it. Demons and Demons 2 from the mid 1980s Italian horror. Good fun to have a watch of, and I recommend them to anyone because they are really good fun to watch. Uh, if you've got nothing to do for 3 hours on a rainy Sunday afternoon, you can sit and watch them.
I will say as well that it shows now as well the fact that how much, well, not only now, but a lot of films, how much effort goes into a lot of films over effort, I'd say, to go into a lot of films to make them. Because the fact that the first one came out in 2000 1985,
Yeah,
and the second one, which is again a bit longer, a bit more production, came out only a year later.
yeah,
And it's the fact it's like they're not small productions to do with these films.
no.
So it either shows that the fact that they got into production as soon as the first one finished, or they started the second one before they'd finished the first one.
All of these things are possible. Maybe that's why they had a couple of people who were the same in the same film.
Yeah, it
Right.
was a good film. I would say it's not one that I would go out of my way to watch, but I'm not disappointed the fact that I've watched it,
Good. Good. I'm glad about that.
which is weird for an '80s film. Bear in mind the other ridiculous amount of ones we did last time.
Yes. Well, next week we have an Easter special, and we're going all out with this.
Sake, yeah, we do, don't we?
We're going one, two, three. I'm trying to remember now. One, two, three, four, five, six short films Whereas some of them are very, very short.
Yeah.
And one of them, I can't wait to see what you think of it.
Oh, don't say that.
I
Oh,
honestly can't wait. And then we have a feature film, which is called Easter Bunny Massacre.
God.
So we got that next week, and then we go back to some sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say we are going back to sci-fi. I know that I've had a few people message me, and have you given up doing it? But we are still doing sci-fi. It's just the thing is that with a lot of the stuff that's happened, like over the last few weeks, with everything, with sort of it's just easier to find horror films,
Yes, quite.
like for especially for like St Patrick's Day, for like Dad said for the Easter special and everything. Certain people don't want to make science fiction films about St Patrick's Day or like Easter holidays or other
No.
things. And it's easier to find massacre films than it is to find a lot of sci-fi films. So
So,
we will
yes,
find some.
we are going to have some sci-fi films after the Easter special.
I'm choosing some of them this time.
And I was going to say that also in the next month, uh, over the next month, we're going to have a couple or three kind of special things with interviews.
Yeah,
Um, we are having an interview with, I don't know what order these are going to be in exactly or when they're exactly going to be, but
but they
we are
will be.
going to have an interview with lovely, a wonderful, talented woman called Carrie who did the film in the Romford Horror International Film Festival
Yes.
about the treatment of women within horror films and that.
Yep.
So we have that. We are also going to set up a full review of Eating Miss Campbell and an interview with the guy who made that.
Which
And
I am so looking forward to.
we are
Oh,
going to have a deformed lunchbox special.
oh,
We have three deformed lunchbox short films that have only come out this year and we have not reviewed. There is a fourth one coming out as well. It's coming out soon. And that one is the main reason we're doing this, because it is one that they are looking for backing for. They are putting together a Kickstarter thing to make it into a feature film.
yes.
So we're going to do the reviews of those films, and we will have an interview with people from Deformed Lunchbox.
Not
So
the and I will say my reaction. Obviously, a lot of people that if they're listening to this can't see it. My
yeah,
reaction to this is not biased at all. I just love the stuff that on Lunchbox do. They keep
absolutely,
there's not a lot of films, and as we've said in a lot of these stuff, I've said in a lot of these reviews. It's very hard for a lot of films to keep my attention. Like
yeah,
it's one of the reasons why I love watching sci-fi and horror because of the fact that they do. But a lot of the ones that seem to put out a lot of films at the time don't do that. They lose a little bit. But the Full Lunchbox, for me personally, every single film keep my attention, and
yeah.
it's just again, it's mainly for the fact that I want. I'm probably going to ask the same question as we said last time: is what ideas don't they put in
Yeah.
front of people?
I
Because of the
mean,
fact that for
the
anyone that's
recent,
listened or watched their stuff, you will know exactly what I mean when I say what ideas don't they go ahead with.
well, the recent ones that they've done have been a little bit different. They've kind of
They seem to have got a bit timid.
well, no,
There's
no,
a
no,
lot.
no. I don't think they've got
Oh
timid.
no, but they've
There's,
changed a little bit.
yeah, there's a little bit less of the humour and a little bit more sort
Yeah,
of serious horror going
yeah.
into it. But
It's not taken away from other stuff, but I think it's definitely something that showed the talent these guys have.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it shows that they've got this variety that they can do, a range of
Yeah,
stuff that they can do. So yes, so we will be having those in the next month, and we will intersperse those with some sci-fi
sci-fi
films
stuff.
and like that.
Which I am going to say, and I'm going to say this on recording, so it does get cut out because of the fact I know that way it's proof, and I can go back and listen to it. I'm choosing the sci-fi films, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to try not to find ones that I know are purposely going to wind you up, but because of the fact that obviously that you have done it a few times with me with films where you go, you know I don't like time travel films, so you pick them. But so I'm not gonna do it with all of them because obviously I've got to watch the films as well, and I don't want to torment myself. But be prepared for some of the ones that I will pick.
Okay. Now, don't forget, we're looking YouTube and
Yes,
streaming, and also any time. I mean, we can go right the way back to the
yes.
1940s if you want.
As long as there is a film of it, we will do a review of it, and I will. I say as long as there's a film accessible.
Yes.
Obviously, we can sit there and go, yeah, there's a film from the 1930s, but no one's got a trace of it. Then we can't really do that. Obviously, as long as there is a copy out there of, be it on YouTube, be it on a streaming service, be it the fact that we've got to go on it in DVD,
And if
which
there are any
obviously,
films, if there are films that people want us to review, if you would like us to do a review of a film that you have seen that you would like to hear what our opinion of it is, then get in
or
touch and let us
even
know.
just even if it's not just our opinion, but just an opinion. Like you sat there and go, you know what? I've heard two opinions. I'd like to get a third one.
Yeah,
Just let us know. Let us know what film. As long as it falls within the sci-fi horror section,
we'll give it
then
a go.
we'll, as you, if you go back and listen to our back catalogue,
We'll give,
there's not an extent of film where we won't watch.
no, we've done almost everything in a way. Still very light on the werewolves and vampires, I must admit.
Oh, there is a film that I was trying to see if I could get you to watch, but it's not classed as a horror film, and it really annoys me. But it
Okay,
is about vampires, but it's not. When you look it up, it doesn't. It's never
okay.
depicted as a
Well, look,
horror film.
if it's about vampires and you think it's a horror film, then it's a horror film. It doesn't matter what its class is. The only thing I would say, and I'm not going to say I won't do them, as far as sci-fi goes, and
Yeah.
it is classed as sci-fi because it's futuristic. I'm not overly keen on the idea of doing things like the Hunger Games or Maze Runner.
No, I've got to admit they're ones that I find a very hard subject and hard line. Like I get the fact they're futuristic, but yeah,
And as far as horror side goes, I would really, really appreciate if we never ever had to do a review of any of the vampire stroke werewolf films in the Twilight
I
series.
was gonna say I was wondering whether or not you were going to mention it, but yes, no, I would say that we would never ever like, and I don't just mean this as in because I don't class them as horror films. I just don't class them as films. They're more teenage spoof.
Yeah, I mean,
I
yeah, I
can't
don't
even
know.
say the word because then we get at a go at. But yeah,
I
they're
had, I
just
mean,
absolute cack.
I've seen. I think I saw 20 minutes of the first Twilight film and thought, I don't know.
No, one of my friends made me watch two of them, and funnily enough, they're one of my ex friends now.
Not that we're
I
putting
don't.
down anybody that likes them, because if you like that sort of thing, that's entirely up to you. It's still just a matter of taste, and they're not to our taste.
Yeah,
And we're not
everyone
saying that.
everyone has their own opinion, and
Absolutely.
it's not our fault that your opinion of Twilight is wrong.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but you don't want to alienate any of our viewers or listeners. So yes, anyway, so there you go. The Demons
Four of
Demons
them.
2, go out and check them out. We'll put links and things on
Yes,
that forum. Go and check them out, and we will be back next week with our Easter special,
yes.
and that could be fun. And we'll see you then. You'll see us then. We will see each other then, and the world will seem
Square.
older,
Square order.
square older. And remember, bye.
Bye.
The Sciforror Film Podcast.